So this is Sharon, the DOD whistleblower, and I was raised by a CIA family, and my family was actually in the aviation industry. Now, in 1979, it was the fall, my mom was in China. She was on a democracy trip. It was a group of elected women officials, and this woman, I think June Bowman, a lady from LA, and Joy Piscopo, something like that, from LA, was on this delegation trip with my mom in China. And my World Airways had this really ugly strike, and my dad was in charge of the unions for negotiating with Mr. Daly. Now, my dad was really mad at me for looking not like him, and he made a comment. And I always believed after that comment that Mr. Daly was my dad, and I was sent to boarding school. And I went to San Domenico in 1979, December, and in March, my roommate from El Salvador, her family, they were assassins, and they whacked a priest named Oscar Romero. Now, people from the Obama administration have been very nice, and they've reached out to me, and they've explained to me, and people have also bullied me and tried to get me to testify under oath who I worked for in 1980. But you see, I was 14 years old. I was a kid. I have 3 yearbooks. I went to 3 high schools in 1979-80. That year, my freshman year of high school, I went to 3 high schools. And then I tested out of high school in January of 82. Anyways, it was really weird because when I watched this movie Sully, and this is why these memories are coming out. See, the Iranians were taken hostage, and I was having problems in boarding school, and Mr. Daly's friend, Ed Herring, who was like a mucky-muck pilot at World Airways, and he was like really close to Mr. Daly. Mr. Daly was friends with Mr. Rumsfeld. Mr. Rumsfeld was actually getting mentored by Mr. Daly, and I got to know him in the 70s because of the Vietnam War. My mom used to take me on all these bizarre trips, and we'd be on empty planes, and it was like in the mid-70s where Mr. Daly was screaming on the plane, "I gotta talk to Ford's new guy, Ford's new guy," and Ford's new guy was Mr. Rumsfeld. And I really didn't know who he was at the time. I just knew him as Ford's new guy. And I should have asked President Ford about it in 1992 when he had lunch with me backstage at the RNC convention, but I didn't. But anyways, okay, so this whole memory is about 1982 because I just saw that movie Sully that happened in 2009 about this water landing on the Hudson. Well, yeah, okay, so this is weird. The last time I saw Mr. Daly, who I thought was my bio dad before I was told it was probably Robert Kennedy. Oh yeah, this is creepy. But last time I saw Mr. Daly, who was Irish, okay, he looks like Mr. Robert Kennedy. So it could be Mr. Daly, could be Mr. Kennedy, but I'm not going to know until 2067 because evidently the government took a DNA test and I can't know the results until 2067, and I'll be 102. So basically, I'm not allowed to know who my daddy is. Okay, but the issue is in 1982, they had to get Khomeini in charge because the Shah had cancer because they found that out when he peed in some hotel room. So then it was Khomeini was going to be in charge, and he had some deal with the CIA thing happening. And nobody was going to die. None of those hostages were going to die. None of the hostages were going to die until the Republicans were in charge. Well, they weren't going to die at all. It was like they were going to be released when the Republicans were in charge. So my only memory is Mr. Herring and my mom yelling. Mr. Herring yelling at my mom, who was upset about her husband, the guy that I thought was my dad that I found out wasn't my dad. And he told me this on Thanksgiving week when my mother was in China with June Bowman of the LA with the women delegation, okay? And a lot of that stuff was like connected to Henry Kissinger. Go figure. So anyways, okay, and then my grandfather's country club, my grandfather worked with John McCone. Okay, so basically 1982, that was just the landing. That was the last time I saw Mr. Daly. And then and my life started falling apart because then the dad that raised me, he died in 83. Mr. Daly, he died in 84, I think. And then Mr. Lesher, who was friends with Ronald Reagan, he took me under his wing because I started dating Ken Little, and he was like a city councilman from Walnut Creek, and he was in his 40s, and he was divorced a few times, and people didn't want to see me dating somebody. I was 19 years old, and I was really susceptible because I had been through a lot of shit. Well, of course I've been through shit. I mean, I had a roommate in boarding school in 79, 80 from El Salvador whose family led assassination squads. And then my shrink in the 70s, I found this out. And evidently I had like amnesia from my CPTSD. Okay, so I don't understand. I have ADD. All I know is that I have CPTSD. And I have blocked out memories. Well, no shit. My memories are creepy, okay? I had a roommate. I went to 3 high schools. I had a roommate that was, her family led assassination squads in Central America. I had a shrink this was after I attended the Carnation Revolution with my mom in Lisbon. I mean, I got pictures. I can prove all this happened. I mean, this is what's so nutty. But then my shrink was involved with Jonestown. Yeah, my shrink was involved with Jonestown. So when I found that out and I understood that the CIA was doing mind control experiments, and then I guess the CIA had this, they used Guyana was like a drug hub for the drug trafficking. So I guess they got mad at these Congress people when they went to visit, and I guess they killed some of them. And I evidently, I kind of was in shock, and I have a lot of weird memories, but I can't identify anybody. I'm no use as being, I mean, people, they told me they were going to jail me in contempt of court. Contempt of court if I did not say who I worked for in 1980. I was 14 years old, okay? I have been put under all this shit because people want me to remember things, and I've never said anything bad about Mr. Rumsfeld. I never said anything bad about anybody because these are childhood memories. How the fuck am I responsible for my childhood memories? I'm not. I think the CIA should be responsible for paying for my health care because Obamacare sucks. And I really do not think it's right. I do not think it's right that I have to go beg the Trump administration for a job because I need health insurance and I'm 51 years old and I don't even know who my daddy is. Oh, but we could ask Bob Litt. But Bob Litt said at a breakfast, I will not confirm the existence or the authenticity of any leaked document. Well, evidently that leaked document was like the fact that they did the DNA test. And I mean, my God, I looked at the woman that said special counsel lady I was sitting next to at this breakfast. It was for like national security lawyers. Bill Sessions, the former FBI director, was at the table across the way. And I said, I'm not going to know who my daddy is. And I was just, I've just been through so much. I've been through a lot. And I really want just a job. I want to be the ambassador to Costa Rica. Because I'd like to live in a place that's quiet, that doesn't deal with war, that has good health insurance, and a lot of Americans. So I think I want to be the ambassador of Costa Rica. Hola. Oh, Mr. Trump, please just make me the ambassador of Costa Rica. And I love America. I love our army. I love my country, but my country has really fucked with me when I was a child, and I really need to have an easy job, okay? And you have a great day, and I'm going to be okay. I know this must seem scattered and stuff like that, but this movie, Sully, triggered some memories about seeing this plane. It was a World Airways plane that did a water landing, and that's why this movie, Sully, triggered all these memories. And I was told that I had this funky amnesia that happened with my CPTSD, DID, wacko stuff. And somebody at this meeting I was at in DC, they said, oh, Sybil's asking a question. Well, I'm sorry, I might have a lot of personalities, but I'm not like Sybil. I disassociated myself from myself because I grew up in a weird CIA family, okay? I am not crazy. I have anxiety. I need to live in a state that has legal pot, or I need to live in a country that doesn't have the CIA, okay? That's why I'd like to move to Costa Rica. Because the people there are friendly. They just care about themselves, and they live the pure life. And DC's just weird. Okay, thanks. Bye.